I visit congregations, and oftentimes my wife will travel with me, when I visit congregations, I do encounter people who seem to love the Lord. And you got to understand that we have such a wide geographical area, and there might be regional cultures within the wide geographical area. We got the city folk, and we've got the county folk, and we've got the rural folk. But when we come together, for example, at our district meetings, we try to have the district meetings as a celebration. That's what we've labeled them.
Hello, this is Pastor Terry Goodman, and I want to welcome you to the Wesleyan Connection. This podcast is primarily for the clergy and laity of the Holston Annual Conference. Join with me now as I take a look around the Connection and share some of the things happening in the churches of our annual conference. In this episode, I sit down with Adam McKee. He is the District Superintendent of the Oak Ridge District of our annual conference. And to be honest with you, I'd never really had a lot of interaction with Adam. He came into the annual conference under Bishop Swanson and has sort of served geographically distant from me. During those times that he's been in the conference, I have been up north in Virginia, and I never really had a chance to sit down with him and talk with him. It was a terrific conversation on my part. We stopped the recording about 25 minutes or so in, thinking that we were done with our conversation, and we get into another conversation and talk for another 30 minutes. Unfortunately, none of that's on tape, but we had a great conversation. We started off, it sounds a little bit slow, maybe it's not full of a lot of energy, but he's describing the Oak Ridge District, and he has this subtle sort of easy speak about him. You know, he doesn't seem real high key until you get him excited, and then he's high key. So I urge you, stick with the interview. It picks up as time goes along, and I really think that what he has to say is the kind of thing that we as members of the annual conference need to hear. We need to understand that each district is unique, and that each district approaches ministry on behalf of the kingdom in a different sort of way. And in this episode, you will hear how the Oak Ridge District does that. And so I encourage you, please stick with this interview. It's probably one of the longer ones that I have in this series on interviews with a district superintendent. And rather than start off with a short interview and build as time goes on, I'm just going to jump right in, Let's hear what a district superintendent has to say. Let's hear what's on Adam's heart. Let's hear the things that he feels makes ministry vital and vibrant in his district. In other words, how the people of Oak Ridge are making disciples for Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world. So here's the interview. I hope you enjoy it. I'm here today with Adam McKee, the district superintendent in Oak Ridge. Let's begin with a description of your district geographically, because you're not just the city of Oak Ridge, are you?
No. As a matter of fact, and Terry, it's good to see you again, and blessings to you. The Oak Ridge District is a combination of, if you would, city and rural. We have a few churches in the Knoxville area, Oak Ridge, and then it spans out up Interstate 75 and Interstate 40. We go as far as Oneida, and we go as far as Harrogate, Tennessee. Oneida, Tennessee, and Harrogate, Tennessee, the opposite ends of the district. I would say Oneida is the farthest out. And we have the ministries that we have are they differ. They differ depending upon the geographical location.
Okay. So in Oak Ridge, you would have several of you, that's where your larger churches would most likely be located, and you would be more of a city ministry, for lack of a better term. I don't necessarily would call it inner city ministry, an urban ministry maybe.
Well, urban would probably be more appropriate term because we have a slice of Knoxville, slice of West Knoxville, in addition to the Oak Ridge city itself. West Knoxville, which would include Concord, First Farragut, churches of that nature.
Okay.
And we have Beaver Ridge, which is located in Carnes, and we have other churches in the Knoxville area that's West Knoxville.
Okay.
So that would be urban. When you travel up the interstate, then you will find the Kingstons, the Harriman, the New Century United Methodist Church, Cowan's Chapel United Methodist Church, and you will find that is still in those areas. Those are city churches, but they're not as large as the churches located in the Knoxville community. But they're all vibrant. When you look at Oak Ridge District, then you've got Clinton, Rocky Top, Pleasant Grove, you've got Andersonville, and you get on up that corridor of Interstate 75, and we have a preaching station, Jellicoe, that's on the other side right before you go into Kentucky. Mm-hmm. You got La Follette, Caryville, Jack Sparrow, Fincastle, New Tazewell. Those are more of a rural area, if you will, but they also have vibrant ministries.
Is there a common theme that sort of unites the ministries of the Oak Ridge District, or do you do things along a sub-district level, or how does that work?
One of the things we had done, we had diced our district up into 4 quadrants based upon our Oak Ridge Academy, our learning apparatus, our training apparatus. But the thing...
What is that? I've not heard of the Oak Ridge Academy.
Well, what that involved with is our training component. We would do training. We would help with, if you would, bring me in and our team for conflict resolution. If you would, we also have that congregational development piece. Matthew, last chapter, Matthew Gospel, go. That has been a theme that we've had for a couple of years, last 2 years, which we would set that off in our district conference. And I would preach a sermon and challenge our pastors and challenge our churches to be go-to churches, if you will. Now, let me back up to the Oak Ridge Academy. A few years ago, under Charles Mattson leadership, we put the Oak Ridge Academy in place to use and to make available if there were churches who wanted specific training. In the past year, we are looking for a new person to take the helm of the Oak Ridge Academy. So that may be why you hadn't heard anything, because Charles has been gone for about a year or so. If I could step back for a moment, when I think about the composition of the Oak Ridge District, I'm thinking about the Morgan Scott Rome Parish, for example, that when you get into the Anderson County, you've got the Clinton area churches, but the Morgan Scott Rome churches, that's part of the Morgan Scott Rome Parish. You've got Woods Chapel, which is a small membership church. You got Oakdale, you got Rugby Road, and you have Sunbright. And up that corridor, we have Tom Robbins and Barclay Mincer, who are the pastors. Tom is the lead pastor. And they have engaged with ministry with the poor and poverty. One of the collaborative activities that group had was working with the camp, Wesley Woods Camp, bringing the camp to the community, and that had been a tremendous success. And it would be wonderful if that endeavor could continue. And Tom Robbins and Barclay have done a great job. We took a chance, we put together that parish, and it's worked well. But we will probably have to revisit what we do there. When I think about the ministry, there's the Morgan Scott Project, which is located up there. Ella Smith is the director of that. Our district, we provide funding towards that. It's not a whole lot, but once a year we provide funding to support that ministry. And on a district level, our finance committee has carved out financial assistance for the churches who are in the rural area. We have one set, Rural Initiative. They help when a congregation has problems paying their pastor, or if they need a substitute pastor, we can help there. We also, as a support, now you just can't throw money at everything, but there are times when you do need some type of financial support, so we try to do that. We have a district leadership team. Our chair for our district leadership team was a manager in secular America, and he is very strong on the district being supportive of the district and being part of that connection with the conference. Give me an example. One of the initiatives we have is our congregation development team. Stephen Burkhart heads that team up. If there's a congregation that's struggling with geographical restrictions, struggling with how do we help grow our church spiritually, financially, numerically, the congregation development team can come in and we listen. We listen. We don't force our way in, and I'm part of that endeavor. But Stephen chairs it, and we have several people who are gifted in listening, and we get a sense from the congregations what they would like to engage in terms of ministry. Now, I want to tell you something, Terry. We don't force our way in. We don't demand that we come in. But when we get a call from a pastor or a congregation, we're happy to go. And another initiative we have, coming out of the district office, we will take a look at our small membership churches that are struggling. Give you a good example. I met with a small membership church, and they want to know, what can we do? We are on a 2-point charge, but we would like to be able to have a pastor who can help focus on what we're doing and still be part of the charge. And so the district, we found a way that we were able to bring someone in who could serve as the pastor on site at that location under the supervision of the district superintendent and a lead pastor. And we did that because a request was made. When I think about Oak Ridge District, I think about a district that has a variety of people that we have something in common. We have Christ in common. We're part of the hosting conference, and we have our district. When I think about churches like Concord, which is the largest church in our district, they engage in mission work. They engage in food drops, where parking lot is filled with food with St. Andrews, and we pack and ship this food off to needy families. Now, unfortunately, the last couple of times they had the food drops, I was out of town. I didn't schedule that way, but that's how it happened. When I think about Valley View United Methodist Church, they engage with a food bank, and once a month they provide food offerings where people can come and get groceries at a reduced price. When I think about First Oak Ridge, I've transitioned from what the district is doing to what some of the churches are doing. Valley View also has a Celebrate Recovery program. When I think about Haskell, these are small membership churches. When I think about Haskell United Methodist Church, they engage with a program, I believe they call it Mother's Day Out, where they take the kids off the mom's hands and they can go and enjoy themselves. When I think about places like Kingston United Methodist Church, they have a clothes closet where they sell clothing at a very, very minimal price. It's really giving it away, but they want people to have their dignity, and that's a very successful ministry. When I think about what's going on in the district, then I have to think about what's happening over at St. Mark United Methodist Church, where they're looking at doing some great things there. I have to think about Memorial, where they're looking at doing some great things. But one of the funniest and most wonderful experiences I've had was working with our congregations who are open and willing to do what they can to offer Christ. It's really exciting when I think about the district. Also, by the way, we make financial contribution on a district basis to Camp Wesley Woods. We believe in the camp and ministry. We believe in that ministry Morgan Scott Project, where they provide educational opportunities and some type of job training opportunities and work with people in poverty. It's really interesting. Man, I'd be here all day if I start. And the fear that I have, Terry,
is you've left somebody out.
Yes, and I didn't mean that.
We ask forgiveness now because we can't go over all of them, but it sounds like the Oak Ridge District is a place where Jesus is being proclaimed and people's needs are being met. And it sounds like the gospel is alive and well there.
Well, I will tell you this, Terry. When I visit congregations, and oftentimes my wife will travel with me, when I visit congregations, I do encounter people who seem to love the Lord. And you got to understand that we have such a wide geographical area, and there might be regional cultures within the wide geographical area. We got the city folk, and we've got the county folk, and we've got the rural folk. But when we come together, for example, at our district meetings, we try to have the district meeting as a celebration. That's what we've labeled them.
You're the Methodist folk at that time.
We might put in parentheses district conference, but our district meeting is a celebration. And one year we integrated into the service musical interludes in between the business. So we try to take care of business on the district level, but we try to celebrate. And I would say that I can't imagine anywhere else that I could have served for these past years that would be as rewarding and for me that has helped me to grow and to understand our conference on a level that I probably would not have, because it has been my experience that I can go into the large membership church, I can go into the small membership church and see signs of Jesus, from the little kids to the church members to the officers. And it has been a rewarding experience.
Well, let me switch gears just a little. You know, as an elder in the church, you know, you have been set aside to be a district superintendent.
Yes.
When you made that transition from an elder to a district superintendent, was there something that you just weren't prepared for that caught your attention pretty quick?
Well, let's put it this way. I had no knowledge of the Oak Ridge District in terms of the geographics, where the churches were located. And that's something that I was not totally prepared for. But you come up to speed. And you see, I believe that the Lord always has a ram in the bush. Now, this is going to blow your socks off. My first year, I went to the Calling All Men event that was held in Sevierville. And I bumped into a gentleman who was very active with our district United Methodist Men. And I won't call out his name because I don't want to embarrass him, but he's a member of the Beaver Ridge United Methodist Church. And when I bumped into him, he said, "You're our new district superintendent, and I know you don't know your way around the district. Check this out, Terry." He said, "Do you mind if I drive you to the churches, if I be your driver?" And my first year, he drove me to every church that's in our district for the charge conference meeting. Not the ones that are local right in Knoxville, because I could find my way around Knoxville. And I wasn't prepared for that. The type of generosity, the type of love that someone would share to me, not knowing me. And we were on our way to Rockwood United Methodist Church.
Used to serve there.
Okay, well, we were heading up, not interstate, but State Road 70, and we had passed that park. Do you know where that park is? That park that's on 70?
I'm not sure. I think so.
It's between Kingston and Rockwood. It's 70. It's a park. Well, we pulled into this church not too far from the park. And he said, "Adam, we were at the church." And we went inside, and they had a great meal spread. And I had talked with the pastor. Keith Knight was the pastor at the time. I had talked with Keith, and he said that we're going to have soup and sandwiches tonight. So when I walked in, there was collard greens and chicken and pies and cakes and everything. And I'm brand new, and I said, "Well, whoa, wait a minute. You didn't tell me you're going to have a spread like this." And the lady came over and took my briefcase, took my coat, and I said, "Well, I had on a trench coat." And I said, "I need to go wash my hands." And I went in the restroom and washed my hands and came out. And my driver, whose name I will not call, but almost said it, he said, "Adam, I don't know what to tell you, but this is the wrong church." It was a Baptist church. It was not a United Methodist church. And we were in we didn't have daylight savings time when we did that, and it was a dark road, but I remember the park, and we were just blown away by the hospitality the people displayed to perfect strangers. Now, I said that to say that that's been part of the journey. What coming into our churches and going into churches in the surrounding area that we're not affiliated with, the hospitality of the people to perfect strangers. And I think hospitality is something that is very crucial and very important in creating an inviting space. Well, we got to Rockwood, and we didn't eat with the Baptist church. They packed food to go. And in fact, they wanted to know where we were headed, and they called ahead and didn't get anyone because they wanted us to stay to finish the meal. But we got to Rockwood, and we had a wonderful time with the people at Rockwood. And I made connections with some of the leaders there in that congregation in Keith. But one thing that I would have to say, that someone coming into a district that they were unfamiliar with, and to experience the level of support from the people of the Oak Ridge District. Our district office has received tremendous support, and the district leadership team has provided tremendous support. And so that's a blessing, man. But that level of hospitality, and I told that story from that point on of Charge Conference to every church that almost called its name that we visited, and it was an icebreaker. And I found that humor helps break tension in some of the most difficult settings.
Well, I've got two final questions for you. First one is this: what is the passion or the fire in your heart or belly that drives you to be in ministry?
Now, that's not a fair question.
It's not. Why?
Because when I was a teenager, a young kid, I was watching television. My grandparents lived in Birmingham, and I saw something very disturbing. And that's watching what was unfolding is when God touched my heart. And I asked God to use me to be a bridge among all people. And what I have found, that I have a gift. I can relate to all types of people. And it probably has to do with that sprinkling that I received from the Lord. It has to do with the background that I come from. I worked as an investigator in Iowa as a youngster. I went into corporate America when I moved back to Florida and learned how to be a supervisor. I was trained and promoted, and I had to be able to deal with people who were above me and who were below me in terms of the company's hierarchy. I worked with a major insurance company, and that thing that jumped on me when I was a teenager wouldn't let me go. And I was working with my last company, which was USAA Insurance Company. I had transitioned from Allstate to USAA, and the Lord just wouldn't let me go. And I went into the ministry, and I walked away from a very good job to go to seminary. And I began to truly discover where my gifts lie. I'm a good teacher. I worked as a corrections chaplain. I worked as a youth minister. The thing that really pushes me, when we were in our last workshop, we were talking about communication. I'm good one-on-one. I'm good working with groups of people. And the Lord has blessed me with ability to rightly divide the word. And all of these things I had discovered before I became part of the United Methodist Church and part of hosting conference. But in the role of a district superintendent has given me the opportunity to exercise the gifts that God has given me. And I will tell you, Terry, that no one knows what the future holds, but the Master knows the future.
Amen.
And I get great joy out of helping pastors and helping congregations work through their conflicts. When I was in management, I had conflict resolution training and had to help some situation. When I was working on my doctorate degree, I found myself in the middle of a conflict while pastoring the church. I was in another denomination, but I took a class, congregation development. It had nothing to do with brick and mortar, but it had, at Drew University, it had everything to do with helping parishioners move from point A to point B to point Z, and helping to identify triggers and things that would cause conflicts. And I had a case study that I had to present, and I thought I was the only one struggling putting that case study together, struggling dealing with conflict in the church, and found out, wow, it happens. I get great passion helping pastors and PPR committees and congregations get to, as a former colleague of mine, David Graves would say, get to a better place. I don't shy away from that stuff.
All right. If you thought the question you just answered was not appropriate, wait till you hear this one. Here we go. What is your favorite dessert?
Oh, that's easy.
You got to pick.
No, that's easy.
Okay.
I had gone through a period of discipline, managing my weight, and I lost a few pounds. Did I mention a period of discipline where I pushed away from desserts, cookies, cakes, and things of that nature? And by golly, I was in Kroger's one day, and I came across these chocolate chip thins.
Chocolate chip thins?
Yes.
Okay, I don't think I've seen those.
Oh, they're there. They're there. They're not the regular chocolate chip, but they're the chocolate chip thins made by the same company.
Okay, so a little crispier maybe.
Yes. And I bought a package, and I've been treating myself ever since I've broken ranks with discipline. That's my favorite. I call it a dessert because it's a treat. Mm-hmm. And I think that the work that we do in ministry, how we engage with churches and people, every now and then it might not hurt to have a favorite dessert. And so the reason why I say this favorite, because I can get a bag, and if Charlotte doesn't hide it from me, discipline disappears. And so now I am challenged to enjoy my treat, but to exercise more discipline. I don't know if that answers your questions appropriately.
That's a good enough answer for me.
All right.
I want to thank you for sharing with us during this interview, and I'm hoping that some folks out there will be listening and learning. You're the fourth DS that I've interviewed so far, and I'm learning that all of you are unique critters, and each of your districts is so unique in the way that you are approaching ministry. So it's opened my eyes up to see the conference in a whole new way, and I just want to thank you for your ministry and leadership and for sharing with us this afternoon.
Well, I want to thank you for this opportunity. You know, I a couple of times felt very sentimental and very moved because this has been a blessing
Thank you,
to serve God's people.
It certainly has, and we've got a lot of serving yet to do.
Amen to that.
All right. Have a great day, and I'll talk with you.
Take care.
This is Pastor Goodman. Thanks for listening to this edition of the Wesleyan Connection. Be sure to check back often for more podcasts.